Good morning, everybody. It's Wednesday today, and it's our second to last part of this series, our 20th edition today. And our subject today is 10 years from now. So I'm Karen House, and I'm speaking to Leanne Hunt. And 10
Mhm.
years from now is for me a very positive approach because I'm a goal setter of note. I'm not necessarily a goal achiever, but a goal setter. So
Mhm.
perhaps, Leanne, you can tell us what kind of things will we focus on when we look back at this time of lockdown? So 10 years from now, what will we
Mm.
be thinking and focusing on?
I think that's a very personal kind of question because it depends very much on your circumstances now. I can imagine that the medical staff and the grocery store workers will have very specific memories.
Mm.
But I'm going to point us to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which, if you're familiar with, starts with survival at the lowest level, safety and security at the second to bottom level, up to belonging, and then self-esteem at the fourth level, and self-actualization at the fifth and highest level.
Mm.
Now, we're just going to concentrate on the couple of bottom ones, but I think if, I would imagine the majority of people, the vulnerable people in our society who are maybe at the survival level, are going to have memories 10 years from now of this being an incredibly trying time because they were locked down, they couldn't go to work. You know, if they were sort of living one day at a time, hand to mouth, the lack of access to transport and food and shelter and all that kind of thing must be something, immensely difficult, and their memories will be, I'm sure, taken up all by those things. Although they'll be different, I would imagine,
Yes.
from their normal memories of 10 years ago,
Yeah.
Um, People who are sort of at the focusing on the safety and security will probably remember most of all the self-isolation regulations and the things they had to do, washing hands and sanitizing and washing down all their groceries from the store and all those kind of things. And then, of course, you've got the belongings, the relationships level. And I would imagine that for some people, particularly those who are watching this video, if you've got the advantage of internet connectivity and you're interested in this sort of subject, probably a lot of your focus is going to be around belonging and relationships at this time, because we are huddled together in our in our shelters, in our places, and we are having to navigate new territory of being in such close quarters, even with our
Yes.
loved ones. So those will be, I would imagine, the kind of the primary things that we'll be reflecting on 10 years from now.
Yes, and that resourcefulness of having to do the best with what you can do.
Yeah,
I think actually I'll look back and look at this series will be in my mind because it's been
yeah,
quite a significant series for me too.
sure.
So what about you personally, Lee, when you look back 10 years from now?
I think I'm going to be remembering with a sense of warmth and satisfaction that this period has been really a time for me reaching out with using technology, using WhatsApp and Zoom, to have these kind of group calls with friends and family. It's been remarkable for me to connect. Just yesterday, for example, I connected with 5 other friends who I was very close to 20 years ago in that small town that I've spoken so much about.
Ah,
And some of them I haven't seen, well, one of them I haven't seen for 20 years. The others I haven't seen for about 10 years. And only one of them I keep in touch and see her about once a year. So it was quite an incredible opportunity to catch up on each other's lives. Everybody's well and they've all got grown-up children now. It's just very pleasurable to kind of have those connections again. My own children who are overseas, it's been really lovely spending time together and even playing online games together. So this has been a time of experimenting with new technology, of realizing that distance doesn't have to separate us. And then closer to home, I think, with my husband and I spending so much time together, it's been very gratifying for me to see how well we've managed, because,
lovely.
we are yeah, we are heading towards our retirement years. And I must say, with him working so hard, I've often sort of thought, what's he going to do
Mm.
once he retires and he's got nothing to do? Well, he's got brilliant hobbies that he's been developing in his spare time. And it's been really exciting for us to sort of do this little bit of testing together.
That's fantastic news. So, how can this sort of future reflection help us as people, Lee?
Mm. Well, I think right now we need to realize we have the power and the freedom of choice. What we do now is kind of up to us. You know, we are
Mm.
being restricted in our movements, but in terms of our behavior, we are responsible for our actions and our words. So we have the power of choice, and we need to
Yes.
claim that and make it work for us at this time. I would secondly say we need to imagine ourselves 10 years from now and sort of get a picture. And I'm going to suggest you get a picture of yourself speaking to a young person who is 10 years from now, probably in their 20s or 30s, in which case they would have been a child or, you know, adolescent at the time now of the lockdown.
Right.
And they're going to say to you, what do you remember from that time? And I'm going to suggest we would like to have a good story to tell. We'd like to feel proud of what we did during the lockdown and what we achieved as a result of it. We might have some lingering memories of how we contributed negatively to it, but this is the time now when we can actually make the choices that will reduce those negative memories. So I'm going to say the third thing is that you can be part of the problem or you can be part of the solution. Whatever you do on a daily basis turns into a weekly basis, turns into a monthly, yearly basis, and becomes habits. But we need to start with those actions, you know, right
Right.
now, today, and this week. Um, I think this long-term perspective can really help us to define those sort of activities and actions. So, for example, you can sort of think, how are you going to invest in yourself physically during this time? You know, with the food you eat and the exercise you do, those kind of things, and obviously the precautions you take against catching the virus and passing it on.
Mm.
Well, that would be the second point, is how are you going to contribute to fighting the coronavirus on a countrywide level?
Mm.
So this is not so much looking at you as an individual, but as part of a society. So the steps that you're taking on a very practical level, but just how you are helping and not hindering the cause. And then we can look at, for example, what attitudes we are working on in terms of our own um, uh, how can I say, the where we are either going to accuse people of doing wrong and blaming them, or we're going to sort of um, see the best in people and promote the strengths in our neighbors, and basically just see how we can grow ourselves to become more useful and more
Yes.
better people in society. And then obviously we can be impacting others, and how are you going to impact the lives of others in a positive way? So I just think a long-term perspective can help us to choose those sorts of behaviors that we're going to repeat. And
Right.
then back to our picture of what we're going to be saying to this younger person, we've got memories that we can be proud of and we can pass down to our children and grandchildren.
Oh, lovely. Lee, we had a slight pause in the transmission. I wonder if you could just repeat that last sentence of yours. It seems
Oh,
like that
okay.
there was a blip in the transmission.
Okay. So it was just that when we have this long-term perspective, we can look back and see how we um, have used the time well. And we can also, when we imagine the 10 years from now picture, when you're speaking to a younger person, that we can imagine ourselves telling a story that we can really be proud of and have memories that we can cherish and pass on to our children and our grandchildren.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes. Well,
Good.
we certainly haven't had a lack of challenges during this time, and one of them has been technology, but it's
Sure.
been remarkably effective and, as you've mentioned, resourceful. We've been able to do what we can do,
Yeah.
and I honestly believe rather to just do it and
Mm-hmm.
do, as they say, done is better than perfect. And I think this has
Yeah.
been a remarkable. So there are occasionally you'll find in this series there's been some comments about. Please understand that the technology has been a challenge because it has been so busy
Mm-hmm.
during this lockdown
Absolutely.
period. So it's been fantastic. Thank you. And I also think it's
Mm-hmm.
really useful for our viewers to ask themselves that question and maybe put in the comments about what things they believe they'll focus on when they look back on this
Yeah.
time in 10 years. I'd love to have that
Good call.
conversation with you. So
Yeah.
please comment and share, and we'll see you tomorrow for the final of this series, Help Unstuck at Home.
Great.
Have a lovely day,
Lovely.
everybody. Bye.
Bye bye then.